There's a moment in everyone's financial life that feels like standing in the middle of a quiet room after a storm. The noise has passed, but the damage remains. Maybe it was debt. Maybe it was a job loss. Maybe it was a string of decisions that made sense at the time but collapsed under their own weight. Or maybe it was something deeper, the slow realization that you drifted off your financial path, and now you're staring at the consequences. Whatever the cause, there's a truth most people never hear. A financial setback never ruins you. But the story you tell yourself afterward can. Sometimes the hardest part isn't the numbers. It's the shame. The comparison. The silent fear that everyone else has it figured out except you. You don't talk about it, but you feel it. That quiet pressure in your chest, that tension between who you are and who you expected to be by now. But what if this moment is not an ending? What if it's a reset button? What if this is the chapter that teaches you more about money, discipline, and clarity than any victory ever could? Financial recovery isn't about heroic moves. It's about understanding. It's about rebuilding the foundation that was never strong enough to hold your life in the first place. And today, we're going to walk through that foundation calmly, slowly, with depth and honesty, the way a true student of finance learns. Because restarting your finances isn't about catching up to others. It's about catching up to yourself. Pause for a moment and ask yourself, when did you first realize things needed to change? What was the exact moment? Was it a bill? A balance? A late-night thought? That moment matters. Because it's the beginning of awareness, and awareness is the beginning of control. Financial setbacks are more normal than you think. Over 60% of Americans report having faced a major financial disruption at least once in their adult life. Job loss, medical bills, debt mismanagement, inflation squeezing the budget until it breaks. Life has a way of testing the systems you build. And if the system wasn't built well, it collapses. But collapse isn't failure. Collapse is data. It tells you what worked, what didn't, what needs strengthening, what needs replacing, and what needs letting go. The real danger is not in falling, it's in staying exactly where you fell. You're here because some part of you is ready to stand up again, ready to rebuild, ready to take responsibility without self-punishment, ready to move forward with clarity. So, let's begin with the first truth every financially recovering person must accept. You cannot rebuild your money until you rebuild your mindset. There is a quote by James Clear that says, "You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems." Think about that. You don't fall because you're weak. You fall because the system holding you wasn't strong enough for the weight of your life. A setback isn't a reflection of laziness or lack of intelligence. It's a reflection of the system you are relying on. And systems can be redesigned. So, before you try to budget again, before you try to save again, before you try to invest again, you need to understand what actually caused the setback. Was it emotional spending driven by stress or uncertainty? Was it financial illiteracy, simply not understanding how money behaves? Was it lack of control, not tracking anything and letting life drift? Was it lack of income, a system built on survival rather than growth? Was it unpredictable events and a lack of buffers? You can't fix what you can't name. And naming the cause is not self-judgment. It's self-awareness. Take a breath. You are not behind. You are rebuilding. Restarting your finances begins with clarity. And clarity begins with facing numbers you've been avoiding. Debt balances, interest rates, monthly obligations, income streams, spending categories. Not to judge them, but to understand them. Money is not emotional. We make it emotional. Money is math. And math is manageable. You don't need motivation to recover financially. You need information. You need to see your entire financial picture the way a pilot sees a dashboard, numbers, signals, indicators. Nothing more. Nothing less. This is where your recovery truly begins, with a calm, slow walk toward the truth of where your life currently stands. And once you look at it fully, something surprising happens. You stop panicking. You stop guessing. You stop imagining the worst. Because reality, even when difficult, is always easier to manage than fear. And this brings us to the second stage of your financial restart, acceptance. Not the passive kind. The powerful kind. Acceptance means saying, yes, this is where I am. But this is not where I'm staying. You cannot rebuild a life you're ashamed to look at. Shame makes you hide. But clarity makes you act. And right now, you're acting. By listening. By learning. By showing up for yourself again. You're becoming a student of finance, and students do not fear systems. Students understand them. Pause for a moment. What's one financial truth you've avoided? Just one. Say it in your mind. Let it surface. That's where your power begins. Financial recovery is not an overnight shift. It's a slow, steady realignment. One decision at a time. One correction at a time. One lesson at a time. And the next lesson is this: you don't recover by fixing everything at once. You recover by fixing one thing consistently. One bill. One habit. One percentage of your income. One mindset shift. One small commitment repeated until it becomes normal. You don't need to build wealth right now. You need to rebuild stability. Stability first. Wealth later. Most people try to jump straight into investing or big goals after a setback. But the truth is simple: a shaky foundation cannot support a powerful future. And before you can grow, you must stabilize. This stabilization phase is where your confidence returns. Not because everything is perfect, but because you finally understand the direction you're moving in. You're not circling anymore. You're progressing. And once stability is secured, the third stage begins: intentional rebuilding. This is where the financial student becomes the financial architect, designing a life of control, structure, and calm. But we'll get to that soon. Before we do, you need one final truth: you are not starting from zero. You are starting from experience. That is an advantage, not a disadvantage. Experience teaches faster than any textbook. Every mistake, every oversight, every poor choice is data, raw insight into what doesn't work and what does. You've already paid the tuition. Now it's time to attend the masterclass. The first practical step in rebuilding is creating a snapshot of your financial reality. This is sometimes called a balance sheet for life. Write it down. Every source of income. Every debt. Every recurring expense. Every savings or investment account. Don't judge the numbers, just document them. This simple act has a powerful effect. It moves fear from the abstract into the tangible. Once you see the landscape, you know where to walk. Once you see the numbers, you gain control. Next, prioritize and ask yourself, which obligations demand attention first? Which are urgent, which are important, and which can wait? Sorting your financial obligations is like triaging in a medical emergency. It ensures survival and sets the stage for recovery. Start with essentials: housing, food, utilities. Then high-interest debt. Then obligations that impact your credit or stability. The rest becomes secondary, not ignored, just sequenced for later. And here's a critical mindset adjustment: progress matters more than perfection. You don't need to eliminate every debt today. You don't need to save the perfect emergency fund overnight. You need momentum. You need small wins stacking into a movement forward. Momentum is magic. Even a single habit repeated consistently becomes a signal to your brain and to the universe: you're back in control. Once priorities are set, the next step is creating what I call buffer zones. These are protective layers for your financial life. Small, intentional savings accounts for emergencies. Contingency plans for unpredictable expenses. Insurance if needed. The buffer is not luxury, it's freedom. Freedom from panic, freedom from fear, freedom to act with clarity. A 1-2 month buffer may feel small, but it's bigger than nothing. And small buffers grow fast when consistently reinforced. Pause for a moment. Imagine the relief of opening your wallet or bank account and knowing you have a cushion. That relief is power. That power is the foundation of calm financial action. Now let's talk about habits, because systems and habits define whether recovery sticks. Financial habits are deceptively simple. Track. Spend intentionally. Save consistently. Avoid unnecessary debt. Review monthly. Adjust. Repeat. The genius of this simplicity is its replaceability. You don't need complex strategies or high-level investments to start winning again. You need a routine that protects, informs, and grows your resources steadily. Tracking begins with awareness. Write down everything you spend for 30 days. Not just bills, but small purchases. Coffee, subscriptions, ride shares. Seeing every dollar reveals patterns. Patterns reveal leaks. Leaks can be fixed. Intentional spending begins with purpose. Every dollar should have a role: survival, growth, joy. The clarity of assigning purpose stops unconscious spending and replaces it with mindful control. Saving consistently, no matter how small, trains your mind. A dollar saved is more than money, it's a signal that you can act. That signal grows stronger over time, becoming a habit that resists external shocks. Avoiding unnecessary debt is simple in theory, harder in emotion. Credit cards, quick loans, tempting purchases, they all promise immediate relief but drain long-term stability. When the temptation arises, pause. Ask, does this support the life I am building, or does it erode it? The answer is almost always in the silence that follows. Monthly review consolidates lessons. Review your spending, saving, debts, and progress. Track patterns. Note progress. Celebrate small wins. Ask reflective questions. Did I act intentionally? Did I preserve my stability? What can I improve next month? Consistency over brilliance is the golden rule here. One small, repeated action compounds far more than occasional grand moves. At this point, you've stabilized and created protective systems. Now comes the rebuilding phase, designing not just financial recovery, but financial growth. Rebuilding begins with goals, but not vague dreams. Concrete, measurable goals. 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. Short-term wins and long-term vision must align. Example, short-term, pay off a high-interest credit card within 90 days. Medium-term, build a 3-month emergency fund. Long-term, start a retirement account or investment portfolio. Every goal is a building block. Every block is deliberate. But here's the subtle truth. Goals alone are not enough. They require discipline. Discipline is the bridge between recovery and transformation. And discipline grows from 2 sources, clarity and accountability. Clarity comes from knowing your numbers, your priorities, and your plan. Accountability comes from tracking, reporting, or sharing progress, even with yourself. A journal, a spreadsheet, or a trusted friend can serve as your witness. Remember this, a financial reset is not a sprint. It is a slow, rhythmic ascent. Like climbing a mountain, each step may seem small, but each step moves you closer to the summit. And the view at the top is worth every measured, deliberate effort. At this stage, mindset and emotion become key. Recovery isn't just mathematical, it's psychological. Every financial decision you make after a setback carries emotional weight. Shame, fear, doubt, all are natural, but they must not control your actions. A reflective practice helps. Pause each week. Ask, what did I do well? Where did I falter? How can I adjust? Small self-checks maintain calm, prevent spiraling thoughts, and reinforce intentionality. Pause for a second. What's one emotional reaction you've had to money that you can transform this week? Awareness of emotional patterns is as important as awareness of numbers. Once your systems, habits, and mindset align, you can begin strategic growth. This is where financial students become architects of their lives. Income streams can expand. Savings can compound. Investments can start. But always from stability. Always from understanding. Always with intention. Even small investments matter. Compound interest is slow, but relentless. A consistent $50 monthly contribution grows exponentially over a decade. Stability plus growth is the formula, not risky shortcuts. And always remember, the real power in restarting finances is not the numbers themselves. It is the reclaiming of control, the building of calm confidence, the quiet assurance that no matter what life throws, you can navigate it thoughtfully. Every step taken in recovery is a statement: I am responsible. I am capable. I am designing my life deliberately. As you continue on this journey, there is another crucial layer that often gets overlooked: resilience. Financial setbacks are tests, not of intelligence, but of adaptability. The question is not whether challenges will come, but how prepared you are to face them calmly, decisively, and without panic. Resilience is built in stages. First, it is awareness, knowing your numbers, your priorities, your buffers. Second, it is preparation, having systems in place to handle stress without spiraling. Third, it is adaptability, adjusting to change without losing sight of your long-term plan. Consider this scenario: an unexpected expense arises. A car repair, medical bill, or sudden travel. Someone without resilience panics, borrows impulsively, and disrupts their recovery. Someone with resilience pauses, assesses, and acts. They use their buffer, adjust discretionary spending, or temporarily reallocate resources. Both face the same challenge, but the outcomes are dramatically different. This is why building resilience isn't optional. It's central to long-term financial recovery and growth. Another often missed principle is gratitude. It may sound strange. How can gratitude help with money you've lost? But gratitude shifts perspective from scarcity to resourcefulness. Every dollar you have, every skill you possess, every opportunity to earn again, these are leverage points. Recognizing them allows you to make decisions from strength rather than fear. Pause here. Take a moment to notice what you already have. A skill, knowledge, connections, a steady income. Even small victories matter. When you act from this place of abundance, recovery accelerates. Now, let's explore one of the most transformative aspects of restarting finances: reframing failure. A setback is not the story's end, it is the introduction of a new chapter. This mindset transforms fear into insight, shame into data, and loss into opportunity. Reframing failure is subtle but powerful. Instead of saying, "I lost everything," say, "I learned the gaps in my system, and now I can build stronger." Instead of thinking, "I'm behind," say, "I'm restarting with awareness," and every step forward compounds into advantage. This shift in narrative changes behavior. It influences decisions. It protects motivation. And it sustains action when the path feels long. One critical tool for students of finance is education. Knowledge compounds like interest. Understanding credit, interest rates, investment vehicles, and budgeting principles allows you to make confident decisions rather than reactive ones. Commit to learning, even small increments daily. Read articles, listen to podcasts, watch credible videos. Every insight builds your financial IQ. Every lesson increases the margin of safety in your decisions. Equally important is community. Isolation amplifies fear and doubt. Finding even a single peer, mentor, or online group who understands discipline, financial literacy, and recovery can be transformative. Shared experience offers perspective, guidance, and accountability. At this stage, it's essential to integrate reflection into your routine. Weekly or monthly, ask, what did I do well? Where did I falter? What patterns emerged? What decisions felt aligned with my values? This reflection reinforces learning and ensures mistakes become data rather than discouragement. Now, let's touch on a principle that differentiates temporary recovery from lasting transformation: purpose-driven money. Every financial decision should serve an intention. Money without purpose drifts. Money with purpose propels life forward. Define your purpose: security, freedom, personal growth, family, philanthropy, or legacy. Align spending, saving, and investing with this purpose. When purpose drives action, discipline becomes easier. Choices feel meaningful rather than restrictive. Next, embrace incremental improvement. Recovery doesn't require perfection. It requires consistent refinement. A 1% improvement each day compounds into massive change over a year. Start small, track, adjust, improve, and repeat. Pause for reflection. What is one small change you can implement today that aligns with your long-term financial vision? Even tiny shifts, repeated consistently, become transformation. Another overlooked element in financial recovery is self-forgiveness. Mistakes were made. Regret is natural. Lingering shame is destructive. Accept what happened, learn, and move forward. Self-forgiveness accelerates clarity, motivation, and confidence. As you gain momentum, consider long-term strategies. Diversify income, passive streams, strategic investments. These are not reckless risks but carefully considered moves to expand capacity. Stability creates freedom to explore opportunity. Finally, recognize the cyclical nature of financial life. Challenges will arise. Markets will shift. Careers will pivot. Family needs will change. A resilient system, backed by mindset, habits, and buffers, ensures you can respond without panic and continue growing. Every setback carries a lesson. Every misstep contains data. Every small correction compounds into mastery. Pause here. Consider your journey. You are no longer where you started. You are not powerless. You are a student, a builder, a planner, and a designer of your financial life. Recovery is not just about regaining what was lost. It is about creating a life stronger than what existed before the setback. The financial restart is complete when your mind, habits, and systems align. When every dollar has a purpose. When every action reinforces stability and growth. When setbacks no longer define you, but teach you. And now, we enter the reflection phase, the stage where insight becomes calm understanding. Reflection is the bridge between action and wisdom. After weeks or months of stabilizing, tracking, and adjusting, the chaos of the past begins to settle. You notice patterns. You see your progress. You feel the quiet satisfaction that comes from mastery over what once felt uncontrollable. This is the point where patience becomes your greatest asset. Recovery is not instant. It is deliberate. Like sculpting stone, each small cut, each careful stroke, removes what is unnecessary and shapes what is essential. In reflection, you also recognize the emotional shifts that occurred alongside the financial ones. Anxiety diminishes. Confidence grows. Shame softens into understanding. You are no longer reacting. You are acting with intention. One practice to reinforce this reflection is journaling. Write down your victories, your insights, your ongoing challenges. Document the habits that served you and the mistakes that taught you something invaluable. Over time, this journal becomes a map, a record of how far you've come and a blueprint for how far you can go. Pause and consider, how would it feel to look back a year from now and see that your worst financial setback became the moment you gained the control, clarity, and momentum? That's the power of reflection. Another element of this stage is gratitude for the lessons embedded in setbacks. Every loss carries hidden instruction. Every financial difficulty forced a confrontation with reality, a reassessment of priorities, or a cultivation of discipline. Gratitude doesn't erase hardship, but it transforms perception. Resilience, clarity, and gratitude now intersect. You can face a bill or unexpected expense without fear. You can make choices from confidence rather than scarcity. You can act knowing your foundation is stronger than before. As we move toward the emotional climax of this journey, understand this: true financial mastery is as much about psychology as it is about math. Control over money reflects control over behavior, decisions, and emotions. The external world aligns with internal discipline. The emotional climax is not loud or flashy. It is the quiet realization that no setback, no matter how severe, can define your story. You've learned, adapted, and rebuilt. You've taken responsibility without judgment, and in doing so, reclaimed your power. Now, imagine the possibilities that flow from this calm authority. Savings can grow without panic. Investments can compound without fear. Opportunities can be pursued without hesitation. Life becomes a series of deliberate choices, each reinforcing the structure you've painstakingly built. And here lies the final insight: financial freedom is not about accumulating wealth quickly. It is about creating a life of options, stability, and intentionality. Every decision, every habit, every reflection contributes to this freedom. Consider the journey you've taken: tension, awareness, stabilization, rebuilding, reflection, calm, mastery. Each phase built upon the last. Each lesson shaped your future. Each action created leverage over uncertainty. As you enter the final reflection and outro, visualize a sunrise, a clean desk, a pen resting after a week of deliberate journaling, the quiet satisfaction of progress without noise. You are present. You are aware. You are capable. The road ahead will have challenges, but you now navigate with tools, habits, and mindset that keep you steady. You are no longer at the mercy of circumstance. You are the architect of your financial life. Follow TheVaultMind, where we master money, mindset, and time. And finally, consider the next step in this journey. Every viewer listening has the opportunity to continue building momentum, expanding understanding, and joining a community of deliberate, disciplined learners. If this reflection brought you clarity, take a moment to act. Write down one action this week that aligns with your financial restart. It may be small, but small actions repeated consistently create monumental change. Pause and breathe. The journey is yours to continue. Before we close, let's explore practical strategies for maintaining this financial reset over time. Recovery is not a single act, it is an ongoing rhythm. The systems you built need reinforcement. The habits you formed need consistency. The mindset you've cultivated needs regular reflection. One of the most effective tools for long-term stability is automation. Automate your essential bills, savings, and even investments where possible. Automation reduces decision fatigue, eliminates forgetfulness, and ensures progress even when life becomes hectic. Next, keep evolving your financial plan. Life changes, and so should your system. Promotions, career shifts, new expenses, and changes in family circumstances require adjustments. Regularly review your financial roadmap, quarterly or monthly, and refine it. Another principle is diversification. This doesn't only apply to investments. Diversify your income streams, your skill sets, and your sources of security. A diversified approach minimizes risk and creates resilience against unforeseen disruptions. Continuous learning remains crucial. Read books, follow credible financial educators, analyze real-world case studies. Every insight compounds, creating an exponential advantage over those who ignore education in favor of short-term convenience. Equally important is maintaining perspective. Financial recovery can feel slow or uneven. Celebrate progress without getting distracted by setbacks. A small win today is more valuable than a perfect outcome tomorrow. And remember the emotional side. Remain mindful of your money habits. Check in with yourself regularly. Are fear or impulsive emotions influencing decisions? Awareness allows you to course correct before small issues grow into setbacks. A powerful habit is reflection combined with gratitude. Weekly, list 3 things you accomplished or improved. Acknowledge them. This builds confidence, reinforces positive behavior, and strengthens your mindset against discouragement. Now, think long-term, purpose-driven planning. Align every financial decision with your core values and life goals. Security, freedom, family, personal growth, legacy. Let your money serve your life's purpose rather than control it. Finally, embrace patience. True financial mastery is cumulative. It's a journey of small, deliberate steps, repeated consistently over months and years. Every decision, every habit, every reflection is an investment in your long-term stability and freedom. Pause and visualize your life in 1 year. Imagine stability, clarity, and control. Imagine the confidence of having a foundation that supports growth rather than crumbling under stress. Hold that vision. Let it guide your daily choices. Recovery is complete when you act not from fear, but from calm authority. Every setback becomes a lesson. Every challenge becomes manageable. Every action is intentional. As we move to the final call to action, remember, this is your journey, but you don't have to navigate it alone. Join a community of like-minded students of financial mastery, share insights, hold yourself accountable, and accelerate your progress. If this reflection brought you clarity today, leave a comment with one action you'll take this week. Small steps, repeated consistently, create enormous change over time. And if you're serious about building your own path to financial freedom, join us on this journey by subscribing. The path can feel solitary, but it doesn't have to be. Let's continue building clarity, momentum, and calm authority together.